Hello and welcome to Narayana IAS. Recently, the Union government has suggested the possibility of carrying out a fresh delimitation exercise before the 2029 general elections. Now, this has sparked debates over its potential impact on Indian federalism. Before we proceed, let us try to understand what exactly is delimitation. Now, delimitation refers to the process of revising the boundaries of constituencies for the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. Why? To reflect changes in population. For example, as you all know that the seats in Lok Sabha are divided among the states based on their population, which means a state having more population will have more seats in Lok Sabha and a state having less population will have less seats. This is the reason why UP, Uttar Pradesh has maximum number of seats in Lok Sabha, which is 80, right? So, delimitation is done to ensure equal representation for equal segments of the population and also to maintain fair geographical distribution so that no political party has an undue advantage in elections. Let us try to understand this with an example. If one constituency has significantly more voters than another, delimitation may adjust the boundaries to balance the population, and this is done to ensure fair representation and to prevent any political party from gaining an unfairly advantage due to the population disparities. So again, let us understand this with another example. Imagine a scenario where constituency A has 2 million voters, but constituency B has only 1 million voters. If these constituencies continue to exist without adjustment, the people in constituency A are overrepresented compared to those in constituency B. Why? Because one representative in A is serving a much larger number of people. Now, conversely, constituency B's representative may have to work with fewer people, meaning their votes carry more weight. Now, this imbalance undermines the fairness of elections. To rectify this, delimitation fixes this issue by redistributing constituencies. In this example discussed, boundaries may be adjusted and voters from constituency A might be moved to another constituencies with fewer voters, while constituency B might gain more voters from other areas. Right? Again, this process ensures that each representative serves a roughly equal number of people, promoting fairness in elections. Right? I hope you understood what is delimitation. Now, let us try to understand the constitutional provisions with respect to delimitation. First, we have Article 82. Now, this article gives the Parliament the authority to enact a delimitation act after every census to ensure proper allocation of constituencies based on population data. Example, after the 2001 census, the Delimitation Act was enacted in 2002, which led to the redrawing of constituency boundaries in India. Why? To reflect population changes. Then we have Article 170. Now, this article provides for the division of each state into territorial constituencies as per the Delimitation Act after every census. Now, you all know that census is held after every 10 years, right? Again, example, following the 2011 census, the state of Uttar Pradesh saw reorganization of its constituencies with certain areas gaining or losing representation to better reflect population growth and distribution. Now, students, let us try to understand about the Delimitation Commission. The Delimitation Commission is an independent, high-power body appointed by the President. What is the task? The task is to carry out the delimitation of electoral constituencies. And what is the function? The first function is to determine the number of boundaries of constituencies. At the same time, to identify seats reserved for scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. What about the powers of Delimitation Commission? Now, the orders of Delimitation Commission are final and they cannot be questioned in any court, and this is done to prevent indefinite delays in elections. The Commission's orders are laid down before the Lok Sabha and the concerned state legislative assembly, but they cannot be modified. Now, let us try to understand the history of delimitation in our country, right? So, if you see, although India has conducted decadal census, that is census after every 10 times, 7 times since independence, that is from 1951 to 2011, we undertook census 7 times. The process of delimitation, that is redrawing of constituency boundaries, has only taken 4 times. So, 7 times census and delimitation 4 times. That is in 1952, 63, 73 and last in 2002. The fourth delimitation held in 2002, right, was based on the 2001 census, but only involved adjusting constituency boundaries. It did not add any new seats as the number of seats had been fixed by the 42nd Amendment in the year 1976. The 42nd Amendment in 1976, it froze the delimitation process until which year? Until the 2001 census, and the 84th Amendment in the year 2002 extended this freeze until the first census after 2026, that is 2 years from now. This freeze was introduced to prevent states with lower population growth from being unfairly penalized and encouraging them to implement population control measures effectively. But delimitation, right, has some challenges. Delimitation, it poses several threats to Indian federalism, particularly in terms of equal representation, fiscal balance and the preservation of India's pluralistic nature. Let us try to understand each of these challenges one by one, right? The first one and the most important is the reduction in representation of the non-Hindi states, that is the southern states. See, one of the primary concerns of delimitation is the potential reduction in the representation of the southern states, right? And which are the states? For example, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal, as well as the east of India. Now, if I talk about population based seat allocation, right? In India, we all know that the allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha, right, is based on population, with the idea that constituencies should represent, right, an equal number of people. And this population growth rates vary significantly across regions. Let's try to understand with the help of an example. If I talk about non-Hindi states, now the southern states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal have successfully controlled population growth. These states have a total fertility rate below the replacement level, which is around 1.6 to 1.8. What does this mean? This means that their populations are growing at a much slower rate compared to states in the Hindi speaking heartland. Then, if I talk about the Hindi speaking states, now states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan have much more higher total fertility rates, which is around 3.5. What does this mean? This means that the population is growing rapidly. And what is the impact of this on delimitation? See, the purpose of delimitation is to adjust constituencies based on population. Now, if this is done after each census, states with higher population growth like Bihar and Uttar Pradesh would see an increase in the number of seats they hold in parliament, while states with lower population growth like Tamil Nadu, Kerala and West Bengal may lose some representation. Again, for example, if delimitation occurs in the future after 2026, Tamil Nadu's representation could drop from around 25% of the total seats in parliament to 17%, while the Hindi heartland states like Uttar Pradesh could see their share increase from 40% to 60%. Now, this could undermine the political voice of the southern states even though they have successfully controlled their population growth. This is the first challenge. The second one is with respect to fiscal federalism. Now, fiscal federalism, what does it mean? It refers to the division of financial resources between the central government and the states. The issue of delimitation also threatens the fiscal federalism. How? Especially in terms of how fiscal resources are allocated and the influence of states on union policies. Right? If I talk about the contribution and receipts of the southern and the northern states, the southern states such as Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, western states and Gujarat are significant contributors to India's tax revenue. These states generate a large portion of the country's income tax, corporate tax and other forms of revenue. However, they often receive disproportionately small share of central funds in return from the central government. For example, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra receive only about 30% of what they contribute in direct taxes. In contrast, states like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, which have lower economic outputs, receive between 250 to 350% of what they contribute to central tax or in central government. And again, what is the impact? If delimitation results in increased representation for states with higher population growth like UP, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh, these states would have more say in union spending policies. This could mean that fiscal policies could increasingly favor the needs of these high population states at the cost of more prosperous, tax contributing states like Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra. The result could be a lack of fairness in the allocation of central funds and resources, and this harms the principle of fiscal equality between states. The third challenge is with respect to ethno-linguistic majoritarianism. Now, we all know that India is a linguistically and ethnically diverse country with a rich mosaic of languages and cultures. However, an increase in representation for Hindi-speaking states could lead to a dominance of one linguistic group in central government, and this will pose a threat to India's pluralistic and federal structure. So, if Hindi-speaking states gain a disproportionate number of seats through delimitation, there is a risk that the central government, there's a risk that the central government decision making could be dominated by the interests of these states. This could marginalize non-Hindi speaking states, particularly those in the south, east and northeast, where linguistic and cultural identities are distinct. For example, the potential increase in seats for states like Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Bihar could lead to a situation where policies, laws and decisions are made largely from the perspective of Hindi heartland. This could alienate non-Hindi regions which might feel that their needs, cultural identities and linguistic concerns are sidelined in favor of the interests of majority Hindi-speaking population. And then talking about cultural disenfranchisement, states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala and West Bengal have unique cultural, historical and linguistic identities, right? A shift in power towards the Hindi-speaking states could increase the feeling of disenfranchisement and neglect among these groups. This could undermine the pluralistic fabric of Indian democracy, leading to potential regional tensions and weakening of the federal system, right? So, in conclusion, while delimitation aims to ensure equal representation, it poses significant challenges to India's federal structure, potentially reducing the power of non-Hindi states or southern states, disrupting fiscal balance and threatening the country's pluralistic fabric. And so, to address these issues, we can consider a few solutions. For example, the first one is to extend the freeze on delimitation. One option is to follow the example set by the previous governments and defer delimitation for another 25 years. This would allow future generations to deal with the complex issue of population-based representation. This could also provide time to the Hindi states to address the concerns around equitable distribution of seats. The second solution is permanently freeze delimitation. Another possible or potential solution is to make a permanent decision to freeze the redistribution of seats across states, maintaining the current seat allocation in the Lok Sabha, which is 545. This would avoid the uncertainties and potential inequities introduced by periodic redistributions, and this will ensure stability and fairness in representation. Then the possible third solution would be delimitation with decentralization, that is giving more powers to states. So, if delimitation proceeds, it could be paired with a broader decentralization of power. How? By transferring more subjects from the union list to the state list. States would gain greater control over their governance, and this would help to balance the political power between states. Now, for example, core subjects like defense, foreign affairs and currency could remain under union control, but the decentralization would reduce the risk of a majoritarian dominance in the union government. This is another solution. And then another solution is maintain the current state seat proportion with increased seats. A balanced approach would involve retaining the current proportion of seats among states but increasing the total number of seats in each state, which means proportion wise the seats in every state would increase. Now, this would help offset the representational deficit in states with high population growth while maintaining fairness and political stability. So, all in all, these solutions individually or in combination could provide a way forward that respects both the principles of equal representation and the need to preserve India's diverse federal structure. It is essential that any decision made considers the long-term impact on national unity and the fair treatment of all regions, ensuring that every state, regardless of its population growth rate, has a meaningful voice in India's democratic process.